The NASCAR Cup Series playoffs roll into St. Louis Gateway. I'm not saying Worldwide Technology Raceway over and over again. Too many syllables for me. My brain can't handle it, but maybe your brain can, Ryan. Ryan Stevens from wintherace.info joins us to talk stats, analytics, to preview this weekend's Cup Series race. I first want to start with Darlington, Ryan. Chase Briscoe has arrived. Winning Darlington wasn't a shock. We've seen him win there before. We've seen him win there in an Xfinity car. But 5 top 5 finishes the last 8 weeks. He's leading hundreds of laps now. He's up front literally every week. What's your reaction to Briscoe and James Small's midsummer surge? And do you think this success is sustainable for 9 more weeks?
Yeah, I definitely do. I mean, you get these playoff guys going out late in qualifying, and he's an unreal qualifier. And, at Gateway, that's something you're going to need. But he's already through this round. So if you zoom ahead to the round of 12, it begins with New Hampshire. Briscoe finished second his last trip there. Then you get to Kansas, finished fourth there this year. Then you get to the Roval. Well, this year on roads, he's finished fifth at the Glen, second at Sonoma, seventh at Mexico City. So you figure, he's going to move on to the round of 8. Starts with Vegas. Wasn't great there earlier this year, but I would expect more this time around. Early season, he even voiced his, displeasure with the car, not understanding it as well as he does now. Now he's obviously feeling it. You get to Talladega, 15th there this year. 5 top 20s in his last 7 there, which, they're top 20s, but that's all you want to do there is just survive and move on. Maybe some of the playoff guys don't survive. Then you get to Martinsville, where he's got top 10 finishes in 6 of his last 7 races. So this is setting up really nice for him. Then you get to Phoenix for the championship race. If he makes it that far, he's already won there in lesser equipment. So this is setting up really nicely for Chase Briscoe here to make a strong run at a championship in his first year with JGR.
Yeah, great point about Phoenix, the site of his first career Cup Series win 3 years ago. I thought it was really interesting listening to the teardown. Briscoe was on Gluck and Bianchi's podcast for a few minutes this week, and hearing how his relationship with James Small has evolved this year. At the start of the year, it felt like 2 guys with their backs against the wall, kind of selfishly trying to earn their place, prove their worth with the top team in the NASCAR Cup Series, and now they've grown to respect each other even more, and they trust each other's input week to week. And the success, obviously, is flowing quite well. I want to talk about Team Penske now, because they are a team that maybe somewhat predictably, Blaney, I was a little surprised, though he had his own unfortunate issues, but the rest of Team Penske, unsurprisingly, a little off at Darlington. Gateway is where we expect them to turn things around. Right now, both Joey Logano and Josh Berry, if we include him, are below the cut line. They need good runs. Ryan Blaney was leading this race at the white flag 1 year ago, ran out of gas. His teammate Austin Cindric swooped in to score the win. Joey Logano has won here before, the inaugural Cup race a few years back. So, Ryan, I know this is a really important weekend for Team Penske. Do you expect them to rise to the occasion on Sunday?
Yeah, I think all of Team Penske is very strong here. I took every driver's Gateway True Performance score and win the race and just weighted it more, for more recent, 2024 than heading back to 2022. And it has Blaney 1, Logano 5, and Cindric 6th. Logano's the only driver actually with 3 top 5 finishes here. So every race, he's showing up. You'll want to qualify well here, and all 3, obviously going out, late. Playoff drivers all do. The winners here have started 1st, 2nd, and 7th. What I thought was a funny coincidence was Penske's average starting position ranks 1st, 2nd, 7th here at Gateway. So that's just kind of weird.
Of course.
If these tires they used at Iowa are in any consideration, well, I had Blaney 2nd best in that race, Cindric 5th best. Logano was not great, but Logano is great here, so hopefully he can get that back for Penske's sake. And when we take everything into consideration and simulate this race 20,000 times, we have Blaney with the highest win percentage, Logano 8th best, Cindric 9th best. So I do expect Penske to be very strong here again.
Interesting, though, that you do have a gap, a sizable gap, it sounds, between Blaney and Logano Cindric, which that kind of feels like that's been the story across the board this year. Logano and Cindric haven't been out to lunch. They both won races for sure, but Blaney is the more consistent contender out of that camp. I want to ask about Christopher Bell because he was also in the picture late at Gateway 1 season ago, won the first 2 stages as a matter of fact before engine issues forced him to limp to like a 7th place finish. But Christopher Bell, great at the short flat tracks. We know this. He's won this year at Phoenix. He's won at North Wilkesboro. He's probably going to win at New Hampshire in a few weeks. He's only 11 points to the good, so a little pressure on C. Bell this week. How confident are you in that 20 team?
Very confident. I mean, the same weighted gateway performance metrics I mentioned for Blaney. Well, I have Bell just behind Blaney. He's qualified top 5 in 2 or 3 tries here, and we mentioned got to qualify well here historically. Um, and he has a teammate, Briscoe, who you mentioned earlier, who almost wins the pole every race we go to. I feel like maybe he could get a couple tips from his teammate there. But beyond that, Bell's just been a model of consistency all season long. If recent form is anything, he's got the 7th best average finish over the last 15 races. So, you mentioned that consistency with Blaney. Bell's, kind of doing the same thing. So I expect him to be very strong. Short flats we know are his specialty, I guess, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah, the speed has been consistent. I want to see more laps led. I feel like this is the weekend he could make that happen. Hendrick Motorsports needs to make something happen as well. Chad Knaus admitted after Darlington that the cars just lacked speed all around. Kyle Larson, William Byron, their regular season success, they're in pretty good points positions, but Chase Elliott is barely above the cut line, and Alex Bowman is in an early playoff hole. Gateway notoriously has been hit or miss for Team Hendrick. Last year, Kyle Larson finished 10th. That was their best finishing car. But Chase Elliott and Alex Bowman, they're the guys who really need to step it up this weekend. Do you think they will? Do you feel like they have a good shot at performing this Sunday?
And Gateway has been a tough track for HMS. As teams go, if you take their collective average driver rating at Gateway over the last 3 years, all of these teams are ahead of Hendricks, Penske, JGR, RCR, 2311, Trackhouse. It's like you never really see HMS that far down a list at any track we go to throughout the year. When we sim it out, we do have Byron ahead of everybody. Larson, I think, is going to be very strong here. He gave a tire test back in June at this track.
Oh, good
I
point.
think he's been the most consistent driver here. Like you said, he had the best finish here last time. But you mentioned Chase Elliott. He is interesting to me. Bowman, I'm kind of off. But Elliott, I think, is very interesting because his finish last year, I don't think was indicative of how he raced. He had a great race, very, very fast, running top 10 all day long. And I kind of like Chase Elliott on a track like this, a short flat track. So, you look at him like how he is, not to say this is like Martinsville at all, but another short flat. I just think when the braking comes into play, things like that, I think Chase Elliott's a very strong driver to consider. So, yeah, and William Byron's just so consistent. So I think those 3 are firmly ahead of Alex Bowman. And maybe the tire test, I give the nod to Kyle Larson here would be my favorite to kind of snap out of this, whatever mini funk he's in right now and get back on top.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the tire test. Obviously, these are the same softer tires that we saw at Iowa a few weeks ago. You brought that up already. That also, I think, supports your Chase Elliott argument. He's been very good at high tire wear, shorter, flat racetracks, Bowman Gray, Martinsville you mentioned. So yeah, Chase Elliott could be in line for needs a clutch performance Sunday for sure. We'll wrap up with this, Ryan. I know there's been a lot of playoff driver talk. That does steal the headlines this time of year, but who's a potential playoff spoiler? Remember last season early in the playoffs, we saw guys like Chris Buescher. Ross Chastain was not a playoff driver last year, got that win at Kansas. Ricky Stenhouse won in early round races last year, played spoiler. So who is a non-playoff driver you've got your eye on this Sunday?
And what's tough here is, with the qualifying order, having all the playoff drivers going out late, it's harder to pick kind of an upset here at a track where you want to qualify well. But on the flip side of that, if you go out early in qualifying and still put down a heater and find yourself starting up front, maybe you do have some killer speed. I'm going to go with Brad Keselowski. Tested the tires back in June, the same tires that they used at Iowa, where I had Brad #1 in my true performance scores for that race. I know it's a different package, but then look at Gateway last year. He started 7th, finished stage 2 and 5th, finished the race 3rd. Very strong run here for Brad. And I mentioned earlier the model of consistency. Guys like Bell, talked about Blaney, all year. Well, it was a tough start of the year for Brad Keselowski, but a pretty good finish here. Over the last 15 races, he's got the 6th best average finish in the series. So, that's kind of overshadowed by the first half of the year that was tough for him, but he's actually had a pretty good second half of the season. So I'm hoping here, even if they're testing something with the car, whatever, hopefully it hits. I think Brad's going to be very strong here. And yeah, Brad will be my long shot pick for the week.
I like that, man. I love the insight on the tires there because I never think about tire testing and tire combos, but that's become a talking point this year with Goodyear and NASCAR getting more and more aggressive. Certainly seems to favor certain driving styles. So that's a really, on paper at least, you've convinced me, Brad Keselowski, a quality sleeper pick. I know in my head, I was thinking of Priest. I was thinking of a Carson Hocevar, who, remember, his first race here looked really good until the brakes exploded. Kyle Busch has a win here, but I've learned my lesson not to keep picking Kyle Busch until he shows me something, anything. But good stuff, Ryan. Really appreciate your time this week. Fans at home, you can read more of Ryan's great work at wintherace.info. And I know on Wednesday nights, Ryan, you do the draft on YouTube Fun live stream. Can you tell the fans at home a little more about what they can expect?
Yeah, 8:30 p.m. Eastern on the Win the Race YouTube. Tino, Phil, and myself will all draft one driver from all the major teams in NASCAR. We'll do a wild card pick, which is any pick from any team we haven't picked already. It's a lot of fun. So we use NASCAR scoring to score it, and the winner will pick a charity that Win the Race donates to. So it's always for a great cause. And it's fun and interactive too. The comments are a lot of fun in there. People picking their own draft picks throughout. So it's a lot of fun and interactive.
Yeah, it's a good time, a great show. Be sure to check that out. All those links are down in the description below. Ryan, thank you so much for your time this week, and we'll talk to you again soon, man. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. Enjoy the race Sunday.